it's Marnie. Okay, I'm coming at you with a story time video. This is the second story time video that I've ever made. A couple of you guys made some comments that you really liked my last story time video, so I thought this was an exciting event. I almost died, what was it, last Friday. Yeah, I had to work last Friday, and so on the way to work, I could have died. Let's put it that way. I could have died. So what happened was I was driving on the 405 freeway, and so all of a sudden we're kind of going into a curve, and I noticed that there was a car broken down on the far right, which I thought it was broken down, and looking close, everything just happened so quickly. Anyways, so I look and there was actually an accident. There was a car on the very far right, and he was smashed in from behind. The car must have hit him hard. I mean, I don't know. I hope there was nobody in that back seat, because there was, then I'd have to say that they would either seriously injured or they might have died. And then I noticed there was a car in the carpool lane, which was on the far left, and I couldn't see the damage on his car because it was just, everything happened so quickly. So I was like, okay. And then there was debris all along the highway, or the freeway, all along the freeway there was debris. So I slowed down. I was originally going about 75. I know I was going to like 10 miles over the speed limit, but I slowed down to about, I don't know, maybe 30, just to avoid the debris. And when I noticed the cars and stuff, I slowed down. So I slowed down to about 30, and all of a sudden I look in my rearview mirror and I see this big truck coming right at me, and I was just like, all I can do is brace myself for impact, because it happened so quickly. And all of a sudden I was here and he avoided me. I don't know how he avoided me. I didn't see, once he passed me, I didn't see any brake lights, so I don't think he braked at all. He was just like avoided me. And he was in a big box truck, kind of like you know those big U-Haul trucks, the really big ones. It was like that, but it was all white. It's funny the details that you remember. But he went past me, and I don't know if it was the momentum, the size of him, or he might have hit some of the debris that was on the freeway. All of a sudden, here I am, and he passed me, and he's kind of like starting to you know, topple over. So I got scared even more, and I thought, oh my God, this guy's gonna land on me. His back end's gonna land on me. So I slowed down even more, and sure enough, I slowed down enough. He fell over, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet in front of me, fell over. Sparks went everywhere. He slided on his side, sparks went everywhere. So then I actually basically had to stop, because if I didn't stop, I would have rammed right in the back of his truck. So I was shooken up, and I didn't know what to do. So all of a sudden, once he slid past me, sparks, I swear, the sparks lit up the whole freeway. I mean, it was dark. It was 4:30 in the morning. And so I kind of went around him, and I was so scared. I didn't want to pull over because I was afraid that, you know, it's dark, I'm alone, and I was afraid that I was going to get hit. Because you hear about those Good Samaritans pulling over for people all the time and getting killed. So that was going through my mind. So I kept going. I kept driving, and so I drove to work. And then once I was safe at work, I started breaking down crying. I was so scared. I broke down. I started crying, and I was like, well, I felt so guilty for leaving the scene and not helping out. It wasn't my fault at all. I had nothing to do with any of the accidents. I slowed down for the first, accident, and the guy behind me didn't, obviously. So it wasn't my fault that he didn't slow down, and but I still feel guilty. I felt really guilty. So I got to work, and I got on my computer at work, and I looked up the Highway Patrol phone number. Of course, I call it up to let them know that, hey, I was a witness to this accident. And of course, it's after hours and they're not answering. So what did I do? I had to call 911. So I called 911, and I'm on the phone, and I'm bawling, and I'm trying to tell them, hey, I was a witness to this accident, and and so then they dispatched me to, I guess, the after hours Highway Patrol. And so they dispatched me, and I talked to the lady, and she said, it's okay. It's, you did the right thing. You weren't involved in the accident. You did the right thing. All I need from you is your name and your phone number. And if we have any questions, then we can contact you. And I said, okay. So that made me feel a little better. So I gave her my name and my phone number, and that was it. I hung up, and then I started bawling even more because I was like, once you know that you're safe and you're okay and you're in a safe place, after a traumatic experience like that, I tend to break down. I don't know if you're like that too, but I tend to break down. So I broke down crying, and then my coworker's like, why don't you go home? I'm like, I ain't getting back on that freeway. I'm just not. So actually, I worked my whole shift. It was a Friday, so I only had to work 6 hours. I worked my whole shift, and then I went home, and I took side streets home, which took me 2 hours. It was a long, long way. So it took me 2.5 hours to get home. I was afraid to get back on the freeway. So Monday morning comes around. I didn't make it to work. I called in sick. I just couldn't. I called in sick because I didn't want to drive. So my husband said, you have to get back to work. So Tuesday I went back to work, but I took side streets all the way to work, and that's like 45 miles on side streets. So actually it might have been more because it's 45 miles on the freeway. I don't know. So it took me almost 2 hours to get to work. So that day I was like, I just can't do this. I'm gonna either have to face my fears, get back on the freeway, or find a new job where I don't have to, drive freeways or drive that, whatever. So I said, okay, I'm gonna get back on the freeway. I got back on the freeway Tuesday on the drive home, and I was fine. And so then the next morning I got back on the freeway, and I was fine. So I overcame my fears, and I'm actually back on the freeway, able to drive freeways again. I'm safe. Everything's good. I didn't die. And I was very, very lucky. Someone was looking out for me because I could have been easily killed on that freeway that morning. So that was my story time. It was very traumatizing to me, and yeah. Okay, that's it. Until next time, I will see you all probably next Friday. So you all take care. Bye, everybody.